All right, here we go. Let's get into it. Insulin reset. Lots to cover, lots to get through. First, gonna actually talk about just making the change long lasting. Just because this is not something that we want to create fat loss and then gain it all back within 2-3 months. This is something to really create sustainable fat loss moving forward. Next, we want to talk about the benefits of strength training, just because it's just a big part of what I believe in, and it just works so well for a lot of people. So, talk about why that is. And insulin reset, we'll get into all the nitty gritty and the details. So, really, here's the thing to understand about lasting change. It's and before I get to this, let me just get to an analogy. So back on the East Coast, we had these thermostats, and they may actually exist here on Hawaii, although none of the places that I've lived in actually had one of these. But on the East Coast, we had this thing called the thermostat, and basically it's just this dial on the wall, and so we would set the temperature for 68, 70, 72 degrees for the summer and the winter. So what would happen is that, say it's the summertime and we set it for 70 degrees, and if the temperature in the house started to elevate above the 70 degrees, then the AC would kick on, and it would just continue to do this throughout the day for as long as it was on, and vice versa for the winter. If you set the same temperature for 70 degrees and the internal temperature in the house decreased below that, then the heaters would kick on. And so it was just the thermostat was just a way to actually maintain and keep the set point of the temperature at whatever you set it at. Well, the truth is that your body is just the same. Now you may have, and this is actually where a lot of people get in trouble, where they end up losing, I don't know, 10, 15, 20 pounds, but they never reset their internal temperature. They never reset their internal thermostat actually. And so what'll happen is that it'll just creep back into their lives, and they just kind of revert to just their old habits, just because their ways of thought and their beliefs about themselves never changed. And so here are the real steps to actually creating that lasting change. First, you have to raise your standard and really make a commitment to yourself that you're not going to be doing certain things, or you will be doing certain things. Now, a lot of people have experience with this in the dating scene, meaning, oh, I will not date somebody that's a smoker, I will not date somebody that doesn't have a job, I will not, whatever. Everyone has their own standard, with a partner and with who they choose or choose not to date. Although I want to apply this specifically to your health. You got to raise your standard, especially if you're going to create this change. Just an example of myself, I have a standard that I will not eat fast food, and that's been a standard of mine for many years. I will not eat fast food just simply because I just know that the quality of the food is just not worth it. I don't want to put that stuff in my body, and that's a standard that's gonna last me for, I'm sure, quite a long time. Just because I've already done it this far. I mean, it's not even something I think about. It's just, I mean, the standard's set. I don't have to think about it. It's just I don't. It's black or white. And so think about how you can actually raise your standards in your life right now. And again, this could apply to nutrition. It could apply to your recovery. It could apply to your movement. But simply raising your standard and committing to that is going to be huge in the long run. Change your beliefs. Now, this could span quite a bit in terms of just changing your beliefs about something or changing your beliefs about yourself, meaning you are capable and able to lose 15 pounds of fat mass, as opposed to, yeah, I'm just supposed to look this way, and I guess I'll just always be fat. I mean, two very different beliefs. But obviously, one is going to support you with feeling better, looking better, moving better. The other one isn't. So change your beliefs not only about yourself, but also other things too. Foods. This is a big one, and I'll talk about this in another module. But the scramble technique really just utilizes your belief about food, and it really does shift your perception and your taste buds and the way you eat things. So changing your beliefs is a big one. And again, we'll be really hitting on that with other techniques later on. And then the last one is adopting new strategies. Now, this module will definitely cover a lot of strategies, some new, some that you may have done before. But the new strategies, that's probably the most common for most people. They'll do that before the other two. So raising your standard, changing your beliefs, those are the big ones. Now, in order to really do this kind of stuff, to raise your standard, to change your belief about something, and this kind of goes in line with taking new action, you have to think about leveraging yourself. Like, how can you really set yourself up for success? And Tony Robbins has this quote: "Stay in your head and you're dead." And so what he means by that is, if we just contemplate and we think about changing, but we don't actually get into the emotion of why we want to change, then nothing's going to happen. Nothing's going to be different. So we really want to make change an absolute must. And in order to do that, again, we have to tap into our emotions, our feelings, because that's the turbocharger of change. Most of us make these decisions based on emotions. Most of us buy things based on emotions. And so we have to understand that, because it's a powerful concept, and we have to do that for ourselves with fat loss. And so here are a few techniques that you can apply. First, start wearing your smaller sizes in clothing. So either you go out and you buy the clothing sizes that you want to be wearing, like one of the goal sizes, or you just get into your closet, and if you have, tighter fitting clothes, smaller clothes from years past, start wearing them. Now, I mean, literally put them on and keep them on throughout the day. The thing is, you'll likely feel uncomfortable, you'll feel tight, you'll feel restricted, and that's perfect. Like, we really want to get you out of your head. We want to get you starting to feel that discomfort, because there's no other way you're going to make change a must. If you're feeling that discomfort from a minute to minute basis, then it's gonna change the game. It's gonna change the game, but it's also gonna make it very urgent. A lot of people just have that idea, like, next week I'll start my new plan. Next month I'll start doing this when things settle down, and that's not ideal for making change a must. There's no urgency in that. And a week will turn into a month will turn into 3 months, and it just goes on and on and on from there. So starting today, make change a must. Start wearing your smaller clothing sizes. Get uncomfortable. You got to put yourself in a pot of boiling water and then jump out of it right now. Don't slow boil yourself to death. Next thing, throw anything in the pantry fridge that won't support healthy fat loss. I talked about this in previous modules. If you have not done that, stop waiting, do it now. Wear additional weight around for 24 hours to represent the fat mass you want to get rid of. This is self-explanatory. Just put on a backpack and load it up. The truth is that you really want to get, again, out of your head, and you want to feel exactly what the extra weight, what kind of toll it's having on your body. And so wear it around. I mean, literally, no breaks. Don't take it off. Not even when you're sleeping, because essentially that's what you're doing. I mean, we have this weight in our body that's around, yet you may have forgotten how much excess weight is actually having a toll on your body from day to day, just because you're starting to get used to it. You're starting to get comfortable with it. So this whole point is to get uncomfortable and get yourself into that position where, let's make it urgent. You got to get this weight off your body right now. Another tactic is stick.com, stick with 2Ks.com. Basically, this is just a website where you make a pledge to yourself, you make a commitment, you set a goal, and you check in every week, and you just, very honestly say, did I hit the goal or not? If you didn't hit the goal, then whatever pledge that you initially started with, it will be donated to somebody, a person of your choice. It will be donated to a charity, or it will be donated to an anti-charity, like the Republican Party, Democratic Party, NRA, like whoever you actually have some kind of energy against. So you could set it for that as well. Now, this could be very powerful, especially if you set it to an anti-charity, just because that just is one of those things that'll help you motivate. It's basically just because you want to avoid the pain of giving money to some party that you don't necessarily support. So stick.com is another one. And the last one I'll highlight here is just writing a commitment letter. This is a commitment letter. Basically, instead of just committing to yourself, you're committing to somebody else. And when you write it down, you actually you're putting the thoughts onto paper. It just makes it more tangible. So write a commitment letter to somebody else, saying that you do value yourself and that you're gonna need their support, and that this is what you're gonna achieve and what you're gonna accomplish. Make it very direct, saying that you will do this, you will do that, and also if you want support from that other person, be very clear with that support. Like, please do not, when we go out to bars, please do not buy me drinks, please do not suggest that I have a drink, and so on and so forth. So write a commitment letter to, again, a spouse, a close friend, children. I mean, children can be great with holding you accountable and responsible. So write a commitment letter so that you will stay on track. So why strength training? Well, there's a lot of reasons for strength training. But one of the biggest things is that we want to increase the efficiency of our nervous system to recruit these high threshold motor units. This improvement in neural efficiency will transfer to so many other aspects in fitness. I like to think of strength training as our glass, and the more we have I'm just thinking of the right analogy. It's like a glass where you're able to fill it up, the stronger you get, for example. Although the thing with strength training is that as you fill up, it also transfers into other skills categories like balance, coordination, agility, speed. Yet if you don't fill up the strength training glass, then you'll only have so much of a limit to fill up of other cups. So if balance is more important to you right now, well, your cup is only so big. Now, if you have more of a focus on strength training, you can actually expand that cup, grow that cup for strength and for balance, because again, strength training spills over into a lot of other aspects. So this is like one of the biggest bangs for your buck kind of things that you can do. And improve muscle tone. This is huge, and I'm talking about muscle tone when you're just at rest, just the look of the muscle. And so basically, it's just a muscle tone. All it is just partial muscle activation, meaning that even when you're fully at rest, there's still a little bit of tension in that muscle. And again, this is best created when you're strength training. And I know a lot of people that want this specifically, and this is huge. You're not going to get this from anything else. And a large part of that, again, with that partial activation, is largely because your nervous system is more efficient. So it's always in this state of readiness, as I alluded to with the recruitment of the high threshold motor units. And it potentiates the effectiveness of daily activities. Again, when you're in that constant state of readiness, when your nervous system is more amplified, then you can handle a lot of other things throughout the day a lot easier. Like, say for example, you're picking up your kids throughout the day, you're playing with them, taking care of them, and one of the kids weighs 20 pounds. Well, when you bring your threshold of your strength from, say you could lift 100 pounds, and that's the most you could do, and then you start a strength training program and you increase that to 200 pounds, so you've nearly doubled your strength capacity. Well, your son, your daughter, whoever's 20 pounds is not going to feel that heavy. Whereas before it was at least 20% of your strength capacity. Now it's only going to be 10% of your strength capacity. So it just makes those kind of things a lot easier. And again, it potentiates the effectiveness so that you're just not going to be straining as much. You can do more. You can handle a lot more things. You could carry a lot more groceries in the house. And then the other thing with the strength training is that the variation and the shock supports fat loss. I mean, there's a lot of different things that we could do within an exercise alone. Take for example the squat. There's a ton of variations on the squat alone, where we can constantly implement a lot of variation and change it up so that your body doesn't get used to it, and that will continue to help with fat loss. That shock will help with fat loss. So all that said, let's get into the insulin reset, because this is a big part of the plan. And here's the first thing. First, it's not a restrictive diet. It's not a starvation diet by any means. All it is that we want to just get your body back into a state where it's utilizing insulin in the best way, in its best capacity possible. We want to get you sensitized to insulin, which is a storage hormone, so that you're not using as much every time you eat. You don't need that much insulin, and then over time, that's how diabetes starts. Is just because if we have a constant influx of sugar and insulin in our body, it's just going to end up being a mess. We're going to get very desensitized to insulin. It's just going to be constantly flowing through our body, and we're just constantly going to be storing fat as a result. And of course, like I said, if you keep taking that example down to the far end of the spectrum, we have diabetes, metabolic X syndrome, just a whole bunch of junk. So with the insulin reset, the key is, and again, these are all the factors that trigger insulin, and also these are things that are inflammatory within the body. So no alcohol, no dairy, no grains, no corn, no unfermented soy, and no junk and trigger foods, fast foods, snacks, and all the stuff that would include the things from the aforementioned list. So taking all this stuff out, we really want to allow your mind and body to regenerate its fat burning capacities. And so the thing is that you'll have to get more creative with how you plan to prepare your meals. Maybe you usually would pair pasta with meatballs and sauce. Well, now it's time to pair the meatballs and sauce with zucchini noodles, butternut squash noodles, spaghetti squash, or something that I found recently, which is just these Alaskan wild pollock noodles, fettuccine noodles, which was again just strands of fish just stripped up. So get creative, start experimenting, open up your palate, open up your mind to all these other foods, spices, and things that are out there. And again, you're just going to be constructing your foods mainly of some type of protein and some type of nutrient-dense carbohydrate, vegetables, for example. So this is the big thing. And again, eventually you'll start to feel, and this may sound counterintuitive, but ultimately my thought is you're going to be more free at the end of this insulin reset. You may begin with the thought like, oh, this isn't more freeing. No, I don't get freedom from this. I get restriction. I get deprivation. But the truth is that at the end of it, you're going to start to feel this freedom, because you're not going to have these same cravings that you normally have. You're not going to have these trigger foods. You're not going to have this mindless consumption of this junk. So you're going to be free from a lot of those aspects. And more importantly, you're going to be free from fat. That's exactly what we're doing, is we're reprogramming your body so that it's starting to burn fat at a greater capacity. And here are some great examples of it. This is just great examples of just different ways you can snack, different ways you can eat that'll fall right in line with insulin reset. One of them, poke, is still a great food to have, but instead of white rice that a lot of people love to pair it with, have cauliflower rice. Cauliflower rice is super simple, super easy. You just buy a cauliflower head, chop it into chunks, put it in a blender, and then rice it up, blend it up into a rice. And then from there, it's just simple. All you do is just put it in not a saucepan, just a skillet, and cook it down. Another one is these cassava chips. So if you love corn chips, tortilla chips, if that's been a trigger food for you, then give this a shot. It's Garden of Eaton is the brand, and they make their chips with organic cassava. Cassava is just a tuber vegetable. And so anything that you see with cassava is a great alternative for snacks. And then another one that I've been enjoying recently is just the Bulletproof Collagen Protein Bar. The ingredients in there are great. Lots of healthy fats, lots of fiber, and collagen protein. So, there's a lot of stuff out there. You just really have to just look out for them. Start to be very conscious of the ingredients in foods, especially when you're shopping around. If you need, a refresher on that, check out my grocery store tour from the very first module where we highlight a lot of those aspects. So hopefully that helps. Now get out there, get some leverage on yourself, get strength training, and start that insulin reset.